Hey guys, it's Katie here with Life the Mundane, and welcome to part 2 of our Q&A. Recently, I came on and I recorded a part 1, so you can see that up in the iCards and down in the description below, to questions that you guys submitted to me about everything from homeschooling to biblical parenting. And I wanted to get to a few more of those questions. I know that video came out not too long ago, and I wanted to make sure part 2 was shortly behind it, as I really value you guys' asking for advice, and I want to share as much as I can. So let's get started. Hi, my name is Katie and welcome to Life in the Mundane. I am a second generation homeschool mom of 6 beautiful kiddos, and on this channel we talk all things resources. I love to share with you resources that are going to help you in your homeschooling and help encourage you in your biblical parenting, and how you can utilize those to their fullest potential so that you can make the most of the little moments. Okay, I want to pick back up where we left off. I had a viewer who was asking me several questions and I was only able to address one of them, which was, how do you find time for yourself and what does that look like? But she had a couple of other questions she wanted to ask, as well as other people. So let's jump into those questions. One question she asked is, what book recommendations do you have for other moms? So for moms in general, I really like Parenting by Paul Tripp. If you have littles, I love When Littles Are Loud, Val Harrison. I'll drop links to all of these down below. If you're a homeschooling mom, Teaching from Rest by Sarah Mackenzie is really good, as well as Homeschool Bravely, which is by far my favorite homeschooling book of all time. Like, so incredible. It is a must read for every homeschool mom. I'll drop links down to all of those down below, and hopefully some of those will be helpful to you. Another question she asked was, is there any advice on having a toddler who sometimes is afraid to try because they see their siblings who are around 5 can do a lot of things? So she's very talented but can sometimes feel shy when she's complimented, or when it comes to trying new things. And I think the big thing here is to remember that we're talking about a toddler. And so there is some of that is just age and growth. I think always encouraging your kids to try, but trying not to push them too hard. And that, of course, is the balance of parenting that is so hard, is trying to push your kids, encourage them without overwhelming them or without giving them too much. And that's going to take some trial and error. And so I would encourage you to encourage them to try. I would also encourage just conversations about not comparing yourself to one another. I realize that a toddler and a 5-year-old, that's pretty young, but you can still start to have those conversations of, God made you unique. God doesn't make mistakes, and you are fearfully and wonderfully made in God's image, and you are going to be different than your sibling. You have things you're good at, they have things they're good at, and that doesn't take away from you being good at those things. I have done a video all about how to handle sibling comparison that I can link up above and down in the description below if that might be helpful. Obviously, again, they're young, so be patient with them, keep trying, but I would encourage you to think about that, because as your kids are close in age, which I have the same issue too, comparison can definitely be something that can rear its ugly head often. All right, the next question was asked that they know that I do teaching textbooks with my kids 3rd grade and up, but what do I do for the younger years, kindergarten through 2nd grade? They're just trying to figure out what they're going to be doing and trying to figure out where those lessons are going to squeeze in. So this is the question of the hour. The reason why I only use teaching textbooks for 3rd grade and up is because teaching textbooks is not available for under 3rd grade. If you want to learn more about teaching textbooks, which is an online computer-based program, you can check it out in the iCards and down in the description below. I've got a video telling you 10 things you need to know about it. But for the younger years, we have tried a couple of different things. We have tried Saxon, we have tried Master Books, Math Lessons for a Living Education, and we have done Horizons Math. They all have their pros and cons. I really don't have any that are like, absolutely no. But I think the one I love the most for my kids specifically is Horizons. It's what's working best for my daughter who has special needs. She is in 3rd grade, but she's not ready for teaching textbooks yet. So we are doing Horizons for her. The one thing I will tell you is Horizons it's not academically rigorous, but it can be like a little bit more, right? Some people say that teaching textbooks is a little bit less than grade level. Horizons would definitely be a little bit on the higher end, or maybe even just a little bit more than grade level. So I highly recommend taking the online aptitude test, like seeing where your child would place, your placement test, and making sure you place your child in the right level. And don't be afraid to go back a little bit, it doesn't hurt anybody. It really doesn't. I know so many parents are scared of having a first grader who's in a kindergarten book. Like, stop worrying about it. Just stop. Just get your kid where they need, where they're at, and you can work on those skills and build on them. We like Horizons because it's really colorful. They're fairly short and easy lessons. They have a lot of visual prompts. For my child, that seems to work best. But like I said, Saxon Math or using Math Lessons for Living Education can also be good as well. It just kind of depends on you and your child. I do like the fact that the Horizons math lessons don't take me too terribly long, but I do sit down and I do a portion of that with her. The teacher's book will walk you through what to do, and will also walk you through when to assign certain sections, because each lesson is broken up into different sections. It will tell you when you should walk them through something and when you should say, okay, I'm gonna walk away and I'll come back and check this. So that's been helpful for me too. The next question is one I really loved, and it was, how do you encourage your kids to pray out loud or even just more during the day? And I think this one is a really important one. I am a big proponent in encouraging kids to pray out loud. That being said, I do not ever really, I can't think of any situations where I have ever really pushed them to pray out loud in groups of peers or strangers or at church or things like that. But I do encourage them to pray out loud at home. I understand some kids are going to have different comfort levels, and there are some that are more introverted than others. So I want to respect those boundaries, but I really do think it's an important skill to learn, and you don't learn it unless you practice it. And so I think it's important for kids to do that. So we talk about it a lot. We're at home, we take turns praying, and then when we're out in public, you can kind of decide. But as they get older, I will encourage them and kind of not force, but encourage them to start praying out loud a little bit more as well, because I know many adults who are not comfortable are able to pray out loud. And it really is a way that we can honor the Lord and participate in things like Bible studies and other things. And I want my kids to have that important skill spiritually, but also as a life skill. So how do we encourage that? We do our morning menu time, and each month we have a different country that we have a prayer focus on. We've done Afghanistan and Haiti. In November, when this video will be out, we'll have a new month, and I will link that down below. But I have these prayer sheets that we have for the kids that have 6 different ways we can pray for whatever country we are praying for at that time. The way we do this is we talk about what each one represents. A lot of times on the first day, I will pray for all 6 of them so they can kind of hear me and what kind of prayers I pray. Then we'll take turns. And some days we'll have everybody pick one thing and pray for it. Other days we'll have just the girls or just the boys pray. I try never to critique their prayers because that's really personal, and that's also can be really discouraging. So instead, what I like to do is I like to say, wow, you did a great job with that. But like, let's take it a step further, right? So today, I'll model it first, always. And so I noticed that my kids were praying very much just like through the list, right? Praying for the people in Haiti because they're hungry. And so I took a day and I said, okay, now I'm going to pray today. And so I prayed about, God, we know that you are the creator of the universe. You created these people and you can take care of them. You take care of the sparrows, and how much more would you take care of your people? And so I prayed those things, referencing scripture passages, referencing God's character. And then I pointed that out to my kids afterwards. I was like, did you see how I kind of tied that in? I asked for something, but I related it back to who I know God is. Like, why did I think he could do that? Because I know the character of God. And I said, and that's something that you learn over time. So I said, but just as you're praying over the next little bit, I want you to try to do that. Well, guess what? My kids have started incorporating that into their prayers, and their prayer life has become stronger. I'm teaching them how to pray specific scriptures, how to open a passage and be able to pray that. So in a nutshell, I just give them lots of opportunities. Every morning, we're going through this, we're praying through this. Every evening at devotions and at our dinner time, we take turns praying. Also, when you're talking about like 6-year-old younger kids, giving them the words is okay, you know, in that situation. You can say, okay, let's pray. I'm going to say it and then you repeat it after me. And so you can kind of do that parroting process until they can learn to kind of give the words themselves. All right, next question is, how do you survive homeschooling while pregnant or with a baby who refuses to settle? And it's a situation that she expects to be in someday and is terrified of. I think the big thing to remember is that it could come, it could not. So let tomorrow's worries be their own worries. You know, we don't have to worry about it today, but many of you guys may be in that situation right now. And I think, again, there's a season for everything. Give yourself grace. If you have a preschooler, if you have a newborn that are just really taking a lot of your time and energy, that's okay. Give them that time and energy. That's the season God has called you to right now. Possibly consider making sure that your homeschool curriculum matches your season in life. There are some fantastic homeschool curriculums that are very teacher intensive that I highly recommend personally. But if you're in that season of life, that may not be the right season for that. You may need to opt for more of a workbook style versus doing a unit style. Or maybe you want to, rely more heavily on a computer or on TV for educational programming. Again, just make it work for you in your season. I think also finding creative ways to incorporate. So when I was nursing, I would nurse and do read alouds, right? When I was nursing, I was going to go ahead and read because, they're all right there anyways. They're all in your space. So you might as well utilize that time. Again, using YouTube videos to look up different educational content and ideas. Utilizing playtime outside, lots of things like that you can do. I will link a video up in the iCards and down in the description below that I have done a couple of different videos on preschoolers specifically that could be helpful. I haven't done as many on having a newborn or being pregnant because I started my YouTube channel kind of right after my last pregnancy, or actually it might be during my last pregnancy. And so I haven't done as many videos on that, but maybe that's something I will consider doing here in the future. Now, on the flip side, we're asking questions about how you deal with pregnancy and newborns. Let's flip to the other side and talk a little bit about high school. This next question is, how do you plan to handle the high school years? Do you plan to do internships, early college online? How does it compare to your homeschool experience? So the answer to this is anything but simple. I have 6 kids. They are very different individuals, and I can tell you right now, there will be some that probably will be interested in going college bound, and there'll be other ones that will not. And we are okay with that. We are 100% okay with that. We're very supportive of that. I want my kids to have a plan, to have a focus, to have drive, but I don't believe that college is for everybody, and my parents did not believe that either. So I went to college. Our parents encouraged us to at least take some classes in school, but did not require us to get a degree or anything like that. I did not finish my degree. My husband did not finish his degree, and that's okay. We've been very, very successful in what we've done, but it was a very intentional choice. What I did feel like my parents did a really good job of was equipping us and giving us the opportunity to try out new things. So around the older middle school, early high school age and beyond, they encouraged us to shadow or walk alongside different people in different career paths that we might be interested in. So my brother was interested in becoming a police officer, so he got to do ride-alongs with a police officer. My parents arranged that. I wanted to be a teacher at one point, and so they arranged for me to shadow a teacher, a kindergarten teacher, for 2 days a week for a couple of weeks and just get to see how it was. I really appreciated that, and I definitely want to do that with my kids. My brother has done one of these hybrid programs where in high school he attended college, and then when he graduated high school as a homeschooler still, he graduated with a high school degree and a 2-year college degree, and I've considered that. But again, I know I have kids that are not going to be college bound for different special needs reasons or other things. And so we won't push any of our kids towards any one driven path. Instead, we will help them prayerfully seek out what God is calling them to do, and then give them as much as we can to equip them in that calling. The next question is, what is something that I struggle with the most in my homeschooling? Oh, this is a hard one. This is a very hard one. I think what I struggle most with in my homeschooling is trying to figure out that balance. I think I alluded to this earlier, of trying to encourage my kids to push them to that next level, not to become content to just sticking with what's easy, but not pushing them beyond what they're capable of. And especially with having kids with special needs, that can be a serious challenge because the skills can be very, very splintered. They can be very on track when it comes to math, very behind in reading, and excel in science or history. And so just trying to figure out what each child needs when you have individual children, and so many different needs, can be very challenging, but God has been faithful. I know I'm making mistakes left and right, but I know that He is faithful to complete what He has started, and that I'm just doing my best in this, and seeking to seek Him in all of that. And I just leave it up to Him. Our last question is, what has worked for you when you have a child who is consistently pushing back with a specific subject? This obviously will depend a little bit on the child. Is this, a habit for them to always push back? Is it because they don't like it? Is it because it's too hard? There would obviously be a lot of evaluation that I would consider in this situation, and trying to see and note, is it a specific topic or a specific thing? Like for math, Is it only when they come across multiplication problems that they're bucking at it? Or is it the second you pull out the math book? Sometimes it's that your child needs a different curriculum because maybe they need it because this one's not presenting it in the right way, but sometimes the curriculum could actually be fine and your child might just have that mental block that's been hard for so long. They just need to try something new. So like we did that with reading. All About Reading is an amazing program. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's very thorough, very sufficient, but for my son, he'd hit a mental block where the second I pulled out the All About Reading, he just shut down. There was just absolutely nothing else that was going to get done. And we fought it for a while. We do persevere. We do try to make sure that we're not just giving up on things. But ultimately, we decided to switch to Happy Cheetah Reading. We pulled that out. It was a new curriculum. It was formatted completely differently. And all of a sudden, my son was willing to try and he started learning. And so sometimes it's a matter of curriculum change. I have done a video that I will link up in the iCards and down in the description below about when is it the right time to pitch it and which is the right time to persevere, because it's not always the right choice to switch curriculums. And I talk a lot in there about like dealing with the heart issue and kind of helping give you some questions to maybe figure that out. Hopefully this is helpful. I know a lot of these questions could have been their own videos. Some of them I've already done videos on, some of them I will maybe expound more in future videos, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Be sure to subscribe. If you have further questions, please drop them down in the comments. I will either answer them the best I can, or maybe I'll come out with another Q&A soon and I'll be able to answer those. Have a blessed day and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.